necessarily like to make it, but I hear there's a Germany trip that's on the NFL horizon in the next coming seasons. Hopefully Steve Ross is like, yes, let's go to Germany.
Yeah, we've had enough of London. Let's go to Germany.
Yeah, I was excited about the Mexico. I heard Mexico was in play like 2 years ago, and I was like, all right, let's do that. London, we've done way too many times.
Yeah, we've had enough of London. Wait a second. I got our feet up on the computer too. We're getting extra hits here. Yeah, that'll be all your trip, Omar. Go to Germany.
I'm curious.
It's I took German for 8 years in school.
Do you speak it fluently?
Ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen. But now when I try to speak German, I've lived in Miami so long, Spanish comes out.
Yeah, I remember you and Berardino both were doing Spanish classes.
We were?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Mary didn't speak Spanish. They serve as my translator.
I don't think Berardino spoke Spanish very well. I'd like to hear that.
He spoke it though, but it wasn't very well. Not to say that I can judge your Spanish.
I was going to say I'm not. Depende del día. Yo puedo hablar bastante bien, pero yo he vivido en Miami por 35 años también. There we go. That's about where I'm at.
Do you hear it well?
Yeah. You know, I went to Barcelona for the Olympics way back when, and my wife and I went to Spain for like a month before that. So I spent 2 months in Spain. And between that and classes and living in Miami, when I came back, that was the height of my Spanish speaking. I got off the plane, I'm walking through the Miami airport, and 2 people were speaking Spanish, and I couldn't understand a single word they were saying. So
it might be their type of Spanish, but yes. All right. That's great. I should look into creating your own channel, or you should. Yeah. Me creating a channel that Sentinel would not like that very well.
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, if the show runs short, which I doubt it will because I put so many questions in it. Yeah. I think we generally handle the consensus of what's going on. But if you guys want to throw a question on X and with the X and Omar hashtag, we'll see if we can knock out a couple of overtime questions. Throw it on Twitter or in the chat, and I'll come look for it at the end. I'll torture Hyde a little bit longer. Okay. Yep. Let me get my chug. I can't believe you don't drink the whole show, Dave. Like by the time I'm done, I'm like a camel.
No, I keep forgetting that stylish Sun Sentinel. Can you turn it so we can see the logo though?
There you go.
I'm below that pay grade. I don't get a mug.
I don't even know how I got this mug, but it's a valuable possession that I have. It's
you know what? My most valuable Sun Sentinel possession is a mug that says, and it tells you how long ago, 1 million readers. On Sundays, our subscription was so high that, they have some multiplier, how many people read the same paper, but we were up to 1 million readers every Sunday.
Listen, that you should have a cutout of the ad they used to run like 10 years ago of Dave Hyde.
I forgot about that. What was that? What was that slogan? I forget.
I don't know. It's like, God, I'm dying to know what the slogan was. I'll try to look it up. All right, we're ready to rock. Welcome to X's and Omar's, the Sun Sentinel show that documents your daily, if not weekly, disappointment in the Dolphins. We've come on this show for 5 straight weeks and told you that it was not time to panic. After the Dolphins got beat down by the Buffalo Bills, we acknowledge that Buffalo's a good team, probably a Super Bowl contender. You're not in their league. After the overtime loss to the Raiders, it was a tough game. The Dolphins lost in overtime. They had a couple of bad bounces, didn't get a call that you needed, and the Raiders took that victory from you. Then we got to the winless Indianapolis Colts. We delivered them the first win of the game. They defeated Miami at home. We said, not time to panic. Brian Flores has started 1-4 before. But last week, Dave, last Sunday's fourth quarter collapse to the Jacksonville Jaguars that snapped their 20-game losing streak is officially the line we draw. Dave, is it panic time?
I think I pressed the panic button after the Baltimore game. I've broken it by now. I broke it in about halftime of the Jacksonville game. Yes, I mean, if you haven't pressed it by now, you're taking some sedatives, because this is beyond. We've done this before, right? In other regimes, you can see what's happening. And
I'm so glad you made that point, because it feels, and you do have that Dave Hyde coincidental or not accidental Groundhog's Day meme that comes back when you've used it for like 10 years, Dave, when just history just keeps repeating itself over and over and over and over again, and it's disheartening.
Yeah, that meme's funny. One year, a couple years after Richie Cognito left, I'm watching a game and I get a message on Twitter, personal message from him saying, he said, "Get the Groundhog Day ready, Dave." I thought I'd put it away, though. I was hoping I'd put it away this time, and it's back. So
did it come back last year, Dave? I don't think it came baame last year.
No, I didn't know, because the last couple years have been such a teardown.
Yes.
That you kind of had to wait for the dust to settle to see what was happening.
Well, the dust has settled, Dave, and we don't like what we see. Let's get to our first question, which comes from Fins Brazil. Is Brian Flores a bad coach or a coach in a bad season, Dave?
We're talking about, by now you should have some context of history, right? We just talked about all the times, and it always comes to coaching. On Sunday, you look at the mistakes made. How could they do this? Why'd they do this? That's the small picture. The bigger picture is it's always the players. It's always you don't have enough players. And that, to me, is you can question the coach. I wrote a column questioning the coach, and that's a small picture, though, from that one loss. The bigger picture is, where is there great talent on this team to say, okay, if we brought in another coach, things are going to be entirely different. No, to me, it starts with the roster. The roster just isn't good enough. It wasn't good enough with Tony Soprano. It wasn't good enough with Joe Philbin, even though he wasn't a good coach. It wasn't good enough with Adam Gase, even though he wasn't a good coach. And it isn't good enough for Brian Flores either.
Here's my question to you, and this piggybacks on this question. And we can address talent or coaching, and I don't know what. It's everything. It's those multiple choice questions. All of you get. Is it coaching? Is it management? Is it the players? No, it's all of the above. But what we saw on the calling card for Brian Flores the first 2 years was player development. Right now, this year, you're seeing a lot of players regressing. I think the player development, Christian Wilkins is probably the only guy that I can think of, maybe Robert Hunt, who is taking their games to another level. And I mean, you got a whole roster of guys who are just absolutely regressing. And my thing is, are they getting the coaching that's necessary? Are they getting the players being put in the right positions? And I don't know about that. I really have to question it. And I wrote a column about Flores. You know, there are universal themes that come from these Dolphin regimes. And one thing that I've always noticed is the coaches that don't have the gray beard, the aged veteran Dan Henning or Mike Sherman, the coach who'd been there, done that, gone through struggles, and said, hey, this is how I handled it. Or this is what you might have going on in your locker room. Or if you've got a player who's basically leaving the flock like sheep do, and there are players leaving the flock, this is how you corral them back. And I thought that, you know, if you look at Brian Flores' tenure, his first year, Jim Caldwell was supposed to be that guy. Jim Caldwell doesn't even make it to training camp. His second year, Chan Gailey served as that guy. Whether Chan Gailey quit or was forced out, you know, you could think whatever you want, but Chan Gailey didn't feel like he was welcome back. And neither was his coaching staff, since all of them were fired. But he was that graybeard. They won 10 games. Offense was the best offense the Dolphins have had since 1986. It wasn't an area that Flores had to focus on, so maybe that was why the defense was so good. This year, where is his leadership? Where is his graybeard? Where is his advisor? Where is his counsel? And I asked him that question earlier this week, and the answer was hummina. My guys on the staff, like, okay, your guys on the staff for 5 weeks, you said the same thing and fixed nothing. So how much great counsel are you getting? And it's not like he can go to Bill Belichick and ask for help.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But look, we've had the same one issue with Brian Flores' regime, the constant changeover of coaches. You know, it started 4 days into practice. Pat Flaherty, there's a graybeard, an old-time offensive line coach, fired 4 days into practice because he did. And to me, the larger issue with Brian Flores, if we're getting to this, is he has trouble getting along with people. I mean, you know, Minkah Fitzpatrick, he didn't get along with. You think Don Shula got along with everybody? Mark Clayton would test Don Shula every single day. Don Shula said, practice, we have a meeting at noon. Mark Clayton, the locker room was right out the door. He'd sit at his locker. 11:40, 59. The seconds are ticking up. 55, 56, 57, 58. At 59, he'd get up and start walking to the meeting room every day. And Don Shula hated that. And yet he knew this was a guy who can help me on Sunday, even though he's showing me up by saying, you know, I'm only going to walk in at the last second. So, I mean, to me, fourth offensive coordinator, third offensive coordinator, fourth offensive line coach. We can go down the list. And to me, that's the issue of something, you know, he's a young coach with good ideas. The other part, he is a tough guy, okay? You look how he grew up, the guys he has coached. He's
overcome adversity. He's handled it.
And the problem is this isn't a tough team. It's not, you know, I don't get it that it's the kind of team.
Well, you're right in my wheelhouse today.
He really wants to. It's not reflective of who he is. You know, 4th and 1, they can't get it. So
they are the softest team in the NFL and have been for a while.
But I come back. We do this. We have this debate. Is it the coaches? To me, everything starts with personnel. And so, you know, whether it's drafting or development, you know, I tend to think it's the drafting. So that's sort of my take on it, Omar.
Well, let's get to a second question, which kind of addresses this. Seth asks, and this is the one that everybody wants to know, Dave. The Dolphins make a move on Flores and Greer after this season. Fact or fiction?
Yes, fact. And the question is, do they make a move on them?
Yes. You talking about?
Let me rephrase the question, Omar, and I'll ask you this since you're so surprised. Do you want Chris Greer running another Dolphins draft?
No.
Okay, well then you're agreeing with me that they're making a move.
But I will say this. While based on what the byproduct of 3 years of drafting and trading away players and hoarding draft picks and building this roster and signing free agents and then waiving free agents, based on 3 years, and I'm not saying it's all on Chris Greer, because I know Chris Greer is an executive, and this is from people who work with him. He's going to do what the head coach wants to be done. That is his personality. That is who he is as an executive. He has flat out told me, I'm going to give the coach what he wants because it's going to be his team that he's coaching. Now, I do agree with you, Dave. I see that frown on your face.
I think that's almost every GM in the league would say that. Every GM I've had
Chris Greer
Jeff
really takes
Ireland
back.
said that. Jeff Ireland said that. Mike Tannenbaum said that. Every GM I've heard here has said that same thing. So,
but Chris Greer has such a passive personality.
Yes. Okay. I agree with that.
It completely matches it. And I'm not saying that this personnel is Brian Flores. What I will say, and I stand by this, when Steve Ross created this structure of this organization where Chris Greer is the head person in charge, he hired the coach, not Steve Ross. Chris Greer hired the coach, and everything trickles down from Greer. He has been involved in the process at every single point. He's been involved in the free agent discussions, had the thought process, heard everybody's argument, heard everybody's pitch. He's been involved in the draft meetings. He's known the post-draft ideas. He's known the post-draft execution. He's known what the success ratio is. Steve Ross knows exactly who is to blame. We all don't know. But there's one person in this world who knows exactly who's to blame for what they're seeing on the field right this very minute. It is Steve Ross. Now,
it is Steve Ross to blame, ultimately. I mean, is that what you're saying? I mean,
no. I'm saying he knows who the.
Yeah,
I don't blame Steve Ross. I don't blame Steve Ross for anything outside of his hirings.
Well, that's 100% the issue, isn't it? I mean, that's. I don't mind getting wet in the rain, but I mean, yes, that's 100% the issue. His hirings are a question. And look, when you say Chris Greer, let's go back to the last change. Okay, when Tannenbaum was fired, Chris Greer is promoted. Everybody else stayed the same on the football side. The scouting.
No, that's not okay. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying, that the infrastructure did not change. Okay, gotcha. The guy at the top did, but the infrastructure was all the same. And you talk to people, that this has been going for. There have been some changes here and there over 2 decades, but the infrastructure, for the most part,
you're talking a full. I mean, but here's the thing about Chris Greer. While he's been in place, though, there are now. The number 2 is different. The number 3 is different. The people in the organization. The number 4 is the same. The number 5 is the same. But you want full-scale, wholesale changes. Is that what you want? Is that what I
want? I want is someone to come in, if they're going to go down this route and say, I'm bringing in my team. I have my scouts I trust. Here's what we do. And because I'm going to write about this coming up. You look at some of the decisions made, and you talk about repeating problems inside the organization, and we're there. Okay. And if you can't see it, if you're on the inside, if you're Steve Ross and you can't see it, I mean, that's the number one problem right now. So,
same problems. You're right. Same problems.
Yeah. All right. Bryce has a good one, Omar. What did you see from training camp, the offseason, that you now realize was a sign to come? I think you talked about this a lot in training camp, but at the time you did not seem like a huge season-crushing issue.
I'm not even going to bring up the offensive line.
Okay, that's what I thought you were going.
See, because the question was about what did you see that you didn't see coming? Right. I saw the offensive line problems coming. I screamed from the mountaintop, hey, It's a problem. It's going to wreck your season. Do something about it. And to their defense, they did do something about it. It just wasn't good enough. And they continue to do stuff about it. Hey, they gave up their first non-sack game of the season. So let me applaud them. Now, it was a ton of pressures, and Tua evaded probably about 20 sacks, but that's the job of a quarterback. Quarterbacks always make everybody better. But let's address the problems that we did see that probably have derailed this season. Albert Wilson, we talked before the season began about how talented this wide receiving core was. And arguably they might be talented, but Albert Wilson was out with injury. Will Fuller was out with injury. Devontae Parker was out with injury. What do? Fast forward to a month and a half into the season. Oh, lo and behold, all your top players are out with injuries or banged up. Preston Williams was out with injury. Like, we should have said, hey, maybe we shouldn't add all these injury-prone wide receivers with durability issues because it might rear its head in their season. Like, maybe.
That was said repeatedly in the offseason, Omar, wasn't it?
Not by me.
Oh, my God. When I looked over at training camp and I saw 4 receivers out, your top 4 receivers, someone in the Dolphins said, why don't we take them a picnic blanket and we'll make a little picnic for them so they can enjoy practice. And the message being, what is going on here? There were problems to that. To me, the problem that I didn't see coming was the defense. I thought last year they had a good defense. They made some changes. Guys are going to grow up. They're going to still have a very elite defense. And it's not happening.
No. They lost their mojo on defense. And I didn't – while I saw Brissett tearing up the second-team defense, I said, okay, that was the second-team defense. Then I saw Tua having his way with the first-team defense, especially when Xavier Howard wasn't out there. I justified it with, okay, Xavier Howard isn't out there. But what I'm learning is that there's safety issues there. And there's communication and comfort issues there in the secondary that's not allowing them to play as tight-knit as they played last year. Eric Rowe is a part-time player, whereas last year I thought he was one of the more reliable players on their defense. Now, he struggled, but he's not out there playing every down. I don't know what's going on, But then also the linebacker issues, because we can, there are 3 components of this defense struggle this year. No pass rushing, which we kind of predicted was going to happen. They needed an extra pass rusher. They didn't really get one. And Andrew Van Ginkel has taken a step back massively. Thank God Vince Beagle is back from IR and back on the practice squad, because I'm sorry, but we can't do any more Andrew Van Ginkel. He's just not making plays. And Landon Robinson, Jerome Baker neither of them are playing up to expectations. Jerome Baker's probably, to me, and I know he leads the team in tackles, and I know he's got a sack, and I know he made some good stops against Jacksonville, but he's probably the guy who is not playing up to expectations.
Well, up until last week, he had some big plays in Jacksonville against Jacksonville.
Yes, but so he's not playing nearly well enough for me in terms of what my expectations were of what Jerome Baker would have done, especially after getting a new contract. But the safety issues, Javon Holland, when you play a young player, and that's what you did when you decided to banish Bobby McCain. You said, we're going all young. There are going to be growing pains. You just hope that the investment that you're putting into Javon Holland is going to be worth it in the end. And right now you're experiencing some of those growing pains.
I mean, the defense that ranked 6th last year, 6, and that was at a bad finale. They were right at the top until the
yeah. They spent most of the year number 1 through 4.
Right now they're 30th. I mean, it's a stunning fall and usually that doesn't happen. That precipitously on defense. I mean, usually you can count on and you can count Raekwon Davis. I was counting on him to make a big step and he's been hurt and
working on rust.
You said Christian Wilkins is making a step to a good player. I mean,
yes, I'm not a huge Christian Wilkins fan, but I will say this: come on, he's a first-round pick. First-round picks should be impactful. he is a guy. Now, he's proving he's more than a guy.
I'm going to say he's a defensive tackle is a position that takes 2-3 years to get to be playing against grown men in the pits, okay? And he's taking the steps forward every year. So, I still think that defensive line is going to be good. You look at the talent on it. You look at the players. I think it's going to be a good defensive line. Yeah, Raekwon Davis and Wilkins and Zach Seiler in the middle. Jalen Phillips is showing signs at times. He's looked like a rookie playing defensive end, okay? And Ogba's a nice player, okay? So
a nice player. Is he a $50 million player?
Player. You're not paying him that right now. So.
Yeah, you might not have to either.
All right, last week wasn't all doom and gloom because it brought about the return of Tua Tagovailoa, who most Dolphin fans hope can be the savior of this franchise, not just this season. And Tua played well. He had the second best passing performance of his career, completing 33 of 47 passes for 329 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also evaded a handful of sacks, scrambled for 22 yards on 3 carries. It was his first sack-free performance that the offensive line delivered this season and had as much to do with Tua's pocket presence as the offensive line play. More, Omar thinks. If it weren't for an interception he threw, he would have had, this is Omar's writing, a sensational game. I think
you don't think he would have had a sensational game?
He had
that interception.
Look, I agree he had a good game, okay? It was a good game, and I'm praising him. I don't want to overpraise. Sensational. You know what sensational is? For the past year and a half, what have you said why Tua is good? What have you said? What's the stat you pointed to?
Accuracy.
Winning record. Right?
Okay. All
winning
right.
record. He hasn't been asked to win many games. And look, please, cult of Tua, don't come after me, okay? All right, don't do it, because I'm not criticizing.
7-5.
Okay.
7-5 is a starter.
But this was the game, one of the few games at the end he was asked to win, okay? Or his offense was asked to win. Really, it was the first half they were asked to win it. We can get into that, but
who really lost it though?
Who lost it?
Who lost it? I would say.
No, I'm not. Let's not get into who lost it. It's the quarterback's job to win it.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, I'm not criticizing him, please, but let's not move.
The two defenders are going to think.
I know they're going to come.
They're going to come for you, Dave.
Here's what I'm questioning: the use of the word sensational. If he has a win, if he does all that and has a win, it's sensational. Okay, but let's not he had a nice game, a good game. Let's not overpraise.
Okay, rate it from 1 to 5.
3.8.
All right, I accept that rating.
Okay, right. Is this what Dolphins fans should expect, Omar, from the second-year quarterback every game?
I think it is. And I think if you look at how he's played the first 2 games, okay, take out the Buffalo where he's just there. They just absolutely just attacked him. And keep in mind, Brian Daboll coached him at Alabama, so he knows how to go at him, okay? It wasn't for the 2 interceptions that he's thrown that are both like, think about it, Dave.
Omar, you're sounding like I used to remember Tom Olivedade, the Dolphins defensive coordinator, super guy, nice guy. I like talking to him. And he, after every game, he'd come in. If it wasn't for that 165-yard touchdown run, we had a pretty good rush defense. Pretty good. I mean, that one interception in New England cost him the game. It could have cost him the game. It really, and so the question becomes, does he have one, but like Sam Darnold with the Jets, would have one awful play in him a game that would cost it? And I hope maybe this is just learning. Maybe it's young quarterbacking with Tua.
It's young quarterbacking. You see so much efficiency, the drive. You remember last year when they led the league in first quarter scoring because they just had efficient drives and, ignore everything else after that. But they played well starting the game. and they played well coming out of the half. And it's the efficiency that Tua gives you and delivers, in my opinion, the accuracy, the anticipation, the RPO decisions, the quick reads, the elusiveness, evading pressure. Now, is he perfect? No, he's not perfect. Does his arm concern me? Absolutely. Does durability concern me? Absolutely. But I like this quarterback. And I think that as we continue to mature and develop, and we take those interceptions out the game, we take that one bonehead play like, oh, what is he doing? If we start to eliminate that from the game, and, you know, in a prayer and a wish, and God damn it, why didn't they draft a certain back I won't mention, have maybe found a running game, you know, to sort of complement him and take some of the pressure off him, I think that they would have a very efficient offense and a very effective top 16 offense. Now, the question is, can Tua continue to be more efficient against defenses that aren't bottom dwellers like Jacksonville? And that's the question that I have.
That's the issue, right. I mean, for all the praise, he's got, you know, we're sort of in the Tannehill territory with Tua. He needs a running game. He needs some better weapons.
Every quarterback, but maybe 5 need a running game.
That was what this whole rebuild was about. Getting one.
Right now, he needs a running game. Maybe in 3 years he won't need a running game. Hell, Drew Brees needed a running game.
That's the typical Dolphin fans thing. Come back 3 years. Oh, we'll be right. Every year it's 3 years out there.
History says you will not be right in 3 years. You will not be good, and Chris Greer will not build you an offensive line. So, like, I don't live in that fantasy world, but I am saying that when he grows and matures and develops, I'm dying to see what that quarterback looks like. It will not be this year. I don't think it will be next year. And I you know where I stand.
You're doing it again, Omar. You're doing it. You're
no.
The next 2 years from something you're going to see 3 years from now. You're conditioned. You're just conditioned that way.
Be patient. I'm not saying be patient. If you want to go get Deshaun Watson, go get Deshaun Watson. If you want to wait on Aaron Rodgers and give him GM powers, go do it. I'm all for either of those moves. But I do believe that Tua is going to be a good quarterback in time, if he can stay physically healthy, which I don't know if he can. So,
wow, a lot of qualifiers. Look, to answer the question, yes, that's the quarterback you want to see. The guy who played Sunday, you see that, you're happy with that. As you said, he takes away with more at-bats. He takes away the one mistake, and he gets some help for big plays that some of the guys get healthy, and the offense scores more than 20 points. That's really what you're looking for, right? I mean,
yes, absolutely. Our next question comes from Castro, who wants to know, what is the next step moving forward this weekend? We saw Tua wasn't the problem. Dave, how do you fix the Dolphins now, moving forward against the Falcons?
Yeah, I don't know it's fixable, okay? I don't. You look at they don't have a run game. They don't have even when healthy, even when completely healthy, everybody's out, they don't have a number one receiver. Okay, they have some nice talent, and I'm not going to say that, but, you know, I just, again, don't, even when they're healthy, I don't know what their offense, I thought it would be, and I talked to people before this season, Patrick Mahomes' first year, and I'm not comparing talents or anything, I'm talking systems, a quick passing offense with a lot of quick or big and strong receivers. That was the idea. I never really saw that, though. I saw little spurts in training camp that, maybe they're going to that, but I didn't get enough of that. It's stuff that would take, Tua from reading 5 things before the snap to 1 or 2. So
you think it's an offensive identity they need to find and establish?
Yeah, I'm not sure they can do it, though. I mean, I don't know that they have it in them.
I mean, they have leaned on Mike Gesicki. Maybe Mike Gesicki is the lead dog in this offense. I'm not saying that I don't disagree with you, because they are an absolutely identityless team. No identity.
I agree with that. I agree. Before the Jacksonville game, I said, okay, you don't have receivers. You do have Gesicki. Quit calling him a tight end. call him a pass catcher, put him in the slot, put him out wide, cause matchup problems. And then he had a big game, except for 2 bonehead plays. 2 3rd and 6s, crucial in the game. He runs 3rd and 5 routes and and it comes up a yard short on both of them. I mean, that's fundamental football.
Things that he can learn from. To me, the fix, it ends and begins, as you know, with the offensive line. And as I say for decades, if you cannot protect your quarterback or run the football, it is a recipe for disaster on a weekly basis. And as we see, Tua is going to have to evade pressure all season. He's doing his job. But wouldn't it be nice if there were 10 plays where he didn't have pressure and big plays could develop and maybe he could throw the ball downfield? Wouldn't it be nice if they could run the ball on first down, maybe get 4, 5, 6 yards? I believe that if you fix the offensive line, whether it's one more signing of a tackle or whether it's moving Robert Hunt to right tackle, back to the position he started 11 games at, and then having Jesse Davis in there at left guard, at right guard, and sort of fixing your 2 tackle issues. One, we've kind of addressed, and Liam Eichenberg is getting better. And Austin Jackson, I think he's played well at guard for the last 2 weeks. You know, Michael Dieter's on his way back. We don't know when he's going to come back, but I don't see any problem with Greg Mance. The center is not the issue. But if you fix that right tackle leakage that you're seeing on a regular basis, and you know I'm a Jesse Davis card-carrying member of the Jesse Davis fan club, Dave, but he's not a right tackle. He is not a right tackle. Fix that, and then we might begin to see progress and development from your offensive line.
Yeah, I still don't understand why, when they have such issues at right tackle, that they didn't move Robert Hunt out there earlier. He played fine there the last half of last year. It might not be your favorite decision, but you tell me moving Austin Jackson's to left guard was something you really wanted to do. So
I think it has more to do with stalling people's development or stalling their growth and progress. And
yeah, you know what? Win games. That will advance people's development. Okay, go out and play well and win games. Winning brings confidence, and losing like this this team has no confidence.
John T. asked, when was the last time you saw a Dolphins receiver catch a 40-yard bomb mid-stride for a touchdown like we see every week in the NFL highlights? Is that the receivers or is that a quarterback problem?
Yeah, you talk to people. Jacoby Brissett had people running deep. Tua had Kirk Merritt running wide open deep and threw double coverage to Jalen Waddle. But if you're going to say, have they done enough? They did it a couple times for the Patriots. I remember Jalen Waddle ran deep, caught a 36-yard catch, I want to say, against the Patriots. He hasn't. I haven't seen him running deep patterns since. Maybe I'm missing him, but I haven't seen him. So, you get into now the protection from the offensive line. But you know what? Take your shots. You're going to have no protection anyways at times, so take your shots.
And maybe you get a penalty. I say that all the time, not to say that you should just be throwing it up to be throwing it up. But you've turned Jalen Waddle, one of college football's biggest play receivers, into a possession receiver. That's on you. Albert Wilson,
That's on Albert Wilson by now, right? I mean, you have to say something's not clicking there.
Yeah. And Preston Williams, to his defense, he was starting to come on and then got the groin injury. We know who Devontae Parker is. He's not going to go deep. You're just going to have to trust and throw it up there, and he's going to come down with it. But Will Fuller, that's what he's done his whole career. Now the question is, does Will Fuller really want to play, or is he cashing a paycheck? I don't think anybody, including the coaches, can really answer that question right now. You don't have Will Fuller standing around watching practice. He's got a broken finger. Why can't he be at practice? Why can't he be figuring out what's going on or standing there sitting with the offensive coordinator? He's just been missing.
A broken finger. It reminds me of Pat Riley when he was coaching the Knicks. And he looked over, and there's 4 guys in suits. They weren't going to play that night. And he looked over at them pregame meeting, and he said, he went down their names. He said, none of you can give me 5 or 6 minutes tonight. None of you. And they all, any of you can, they all raised their hand. He said, why aren't you in uniform? Why? And they all got in uniform, and they gave him a few minutes. Will Fuller, just by running downfield, is going to help that offense. He can't give them, and again, I don't get on people with injury because we don't know the extent of injuries typically. But if it is a broken, that can be taped together and you can still run, you can still help out this offense, even if just as a decoy.
I have more of a problem with the fact that I've probably seen Will Fuller in person maybe 5 times. And I'm talking since training camp. Why is it that I have physically seen him 5 times since April? Let's go OTAs. And if you are getting paid $13 million, you are on IR. But when Raekwon Davis was on IR, I saw him standing out there. I don't see Will Fuller anywhere. And that's an accountability thing. That at some point, somebody's responsible for making a decision to sign a player who's not in, who hasn't bought in. And who is it?
When's the last big free agent signing they hit on? Brandon Albers? I mean, we don't that
people
far.
Would say that's a miss because he only lasted 2 years here.
Okay, but that counts when you look at what we're weighing it against. None of the guys last year, or maybe I'm being a little hard. Maybe Byron Jones, but that was such a huge paycheck. Who is it, Omar? Who's the last?
Brandon Marshall.
Wow, what was that? 2012? I don't know.
Yeah, no, 2009. I'm sure there's been some other big free agent signings that were just.
Brent Grimes was probably right around.
Brent Grimes, there we go. Brent Grimes. He's on your all Dolphins.
2013? 2013?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Let's get to our next question, which comes from Gary Bass, My World, who brings us back to reality on this quarterback. Will the Dolphins go get Deshaun Watson before the November 2nd trade line, Dave? We have got officially, let me count the days. I'm not good at counting. We've officially got 13 days? 13 days.
Let's think this out with some perspective, okay?
All right.
And start here. One, what do the Dolphins offer them? Because right now, Philadelphia has about 3 picks that are trending toward the top 10 in the draft. Three. One of them's your Miami Dolphins pick, which is number 2 in the draft right now. So if Philadelphia wants them and Deshaun Watson will sign off to play there, the Dolphins can't even come close to that. Okay. The second issue is, if you're Steve Ross, is this a Hail Mary from the current regime to buy more time for them, or is this it? Okay, and so do you look? Deshaun Watson, a top 5, 6, 7. I don't know, however you want to count it, quarterback. But there's too many issues right now for me as the owner of the Dolphins to allow this trade to be made. I needed the smoke to clear on all these legal issues going on.
But here's a question I asked you, Dave, the GM. If you do it now and you make your best offer right now, not to say that I'm all on board with that, but you probably would avoid the competing with Philadelphia. Like, you might have to shoot your shot now.
If I'm Philadelphia, I'm saying, hey, here's two number 1 picks. They could be in the top 10. You take those, and we'll give you give us Deshaun Watson, and let's all go on our merry way. I mean, why don't you think Philadelphia would be in the business of trading for him now either?
I believe he's turned down the Philadelphia. He's not interested. He wasn't interested in going there. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. I don't know. I would not do it right now. Here's what I would do if I was the Dolphins organization. I'd make my best offer. I'd say, you get 3 first-round picks within the next 2 years. I do want them protected. Give me one back based on how many games he plays next season, just, to cover me. But that's the best offer I'm making right now.
See, here's the scary thing to me, Omar, in this, beyond the obvious, which is Deshaun Watson's issues. Okay, that to me would say, okay, I can't do it right now. As much as I was all for trading for Deshaun Watson, all that. But the other issue is, and again, we can find context in old regimes in Dolphin history, going into the 2004 season when the Spielman and Wannstedt era was troubled, they began throwing draft picks overboard for players, hoping that they could get some guys on the roster to help them keep their jobs. I don't want, you'd have to be really careful with a troubled regime now.
Oh yeah, so you want them hoarding draft picks because you know how well they've used them so far.
No, but what I'm saying is, they're saying, here, take 4 number ones. We don't care. We need him on board here, right?
Yeah, we need to save our jobs, which let's be real. We're at the job-saving stage of this regime.
Okay, and is that what I'm saying for the long-term best interests of this franchise? Is it, oh, yeah, take whatever draft picks you want. Take them all.
Long-term best – oh, okay. I hear the point that you're making, but you know what the long-term best interest of this franchise is? Find an elite quarterback. Get one. Do whatever it takes. Whether it's Aaron Rodgers, and you know where I stand on that. I'm on pause with Deshaun Watson because I'm all in on Aaron Rodgers. And I'm fishing around. I'm getting close to his brother. I'm trying to figure out whether or not this is kind
Omar,
of.
Would you trade for Deshaun Watson now with all his legal issues?
I would, because I feel like if the legal system and the NFL were going to do something outside of a financial lawsuit, I think they would have already done it. That's
what gives you that idea? But that's your opinion. But based on what? There's no the legal machinery is still cranking. It's going
the legal machinery on the lawsuit. I feel like if there is a financial lawsuit, and a settlement is made, I'm not sure the NFL can step in and do anything more than max a 6-game suspension.
They can do whatever they want. We don't know.
I mean, yeah, but they can do whatever they. Why has the NFL not put him on the commissioner's suspended list?
A, they don't have to because he's not playing, and B,
he's casting a check. He's casting a check. I'm sure the Tennessee Titans. I mean, the Houston Texans would be over the moon if they didn't have to pay him.
The investigation hasn't been completed. There's so many loose.
The NFL has so many an investigation to be completed to put somebody on this commissioner's suspended list.
Yeah.
Everybody who has been on the commissioner's suspended list during Goodell's reign did not have a conviction. Everybody.
Yeah, so he's going to be suspended in some form is the bottom line. We don't know what the length of the suspension is.
I'm rolling the
You're rolling the dice. That's why I don't want to roll the dice with all these draft picks, all that money, I'm
good. You know where I am. I'm good with seeing what Tua does the rest of the season. So I put my offer out there.
To me, that's at this point, that's what you do.
I put my offer out there. It's a lowball offer, and you accept it, you accept it. If you don't, you don't. And I keep it moving, and I set my sights on Aaron Rodgers at the end of the season.
All right, Omar. Ryan wants to know the Dolphins' defense is more talented than it is played. It's the play calling that's holding the offense back. Fact or fiction?
Dolphins offense, but yes, I think it's everything. I think they haven't had some of their top playmakers, Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, Preston Williams. They have to be on the field to open things up for Tua. It's great that you're developing chemistry with Mike Gesicki, but the only reason you're developing chemistry with Mike Gesicki is because he's your top weapon right now. And I think Mike Gesicki should be your number 3 weapon on this team. But I have to hold the play callers, George Godsey and Eric Stoodsville, responsible for what we're seeing right now. The Dolphins have the NFL's worst rushing attack. And as I said in a previous column and on X's and Omar's, I look at the offensive coordinators as one guy's in charge of the passing game, One guy's in charge of the running game. Running game's the worst running game in the NFL. That's Eric Studesville. You fail. You're doing a crappy job. I stopped myself from cursing. George Godsey. I get that these plays are limited by your inability to pass protect, but where's the more max protection? Where is the help? And I get it. You were playing tight ends that can block and a running back that can block, but you need to be doing more. Why is Jalen Waddle turned into Jarvis Landry? Like, these are all philosophical positions that I think they're doing a better job, but you really started the season sucky.
Yeah, this whole two-headed coordinator, and then they had the three-head with Charlie Fry. It's a mess. I agree with that. But to me, still, it's a players' league. As much as everybody's fascinated by the coaches and the strategy, it's a players' league. You get good players.
Yeah.
Coaches can make that work. And name me the good players on the Dolphin offense. Name
that are hurt. That are hurt.
It's name who are out there playing. I don't care who. Look, I like Myles Gaskin. I really like him. But as I've said, he's James White. He's a great guy who can play that niche role of third down, second down sometimes. Yeah. But he's not.
Wouldn't it be great if you had an all-purpose back like Najee Harris? I'm just saying. Just throwing it out there.
You gave that up, Omar. I thought you gave that up.
I have never given that up, Dave, and I never will give it up.
Okay.
I watch what he does. I don't look up anybody else's production on a Sunday except for one player, Najee Harris.
Not even Justin Herbert?
That train has gone.
That really sets Dolphin fans off. And the most bizarre comment is, how aren't we done with this? It's like I did hear about Drew Brees for 15 years. You know, I really don't want to. I really don't want to hear and talk about Justin Herbert for 15 years. Okay, Michael has our next one. True or false? The Dolphins are missing veteran leadership on the team. Maybe they took the training camp wheels off too soon in releasing Kyle Van Noy, Bobby McCain, Ted Karras, etc.
I have to say that I do believe that this is true. This is a situation where, and I'm doing more digging on this because I've always felt like leadership was a issue with this team for many, many years. Now, obviously, last year they had good leadership because they had a good season, and I do know that those guys that mentioned, Kyle Van Noy, while I can say whatever I want about his personality and he was a turd, he was a leader. Bobby McCain, that still doesn't make any sense. Eric Flowers still doesn't make any sense to me. Ted Karras, I get it. You want to invest in the young players and you want to change. But are the Dolphins getting enough from the Landon Roberts, the Mac Hollins, the Jesse Davis? And I feel like I'm going to do something on that because I asked Mac Hollins about that. And I was very impressed with his answer in terms of, you know, they as leaders are trying to figure out how to reach everybody. And some guys, you can't deal with guys in the same fashion. Some guys, and Max said it, and I thought this was brilliant. He was like, some guys, you got to tell their best friend so that maybe their best friend can bring it up to them. Some guys, you got to mother bleep them. Some guys, you know, you got to coddle them a little bit. And that's a sign of a good leader. And I said this during the game on a tweet, and I do mean this. Mac Hollins would be my starting receiver for this team, no matter what. Because the attitude, the effort, the intensity that he plays with, I feel it's contagious. And I don't see many players on this team playing with that attitude, intensity, and effort.
He's a good quote, too. That's equally important to us, people covering this. You talk about leadership. Who won the leadership award last week?
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Last year, Ryan Fitzpatrick. This was his team. And the team, the core of the team was gutted when he, you know, it was such a good signing to sign Ryan Fitzpatrick. We talk about free agents. There was this.
That was a good.
I forgot about him, but it was such a good signing. It was a bad signing to the future of the team because when he left, first of all, when he lost his starting job, a lot of the veterans were really angry. A lot of the coaching staff was really angry. And so there's a void there. Now, that doesn't explain this year. You know,
and to bring up leadership, I have seen Tua be a leader, and I understand why he wasn't named captain and probably wasn't really pushing to be named the captain because that involves
let's not make excuses for this too, okay?
No. That involves captains' meetings and sitting down with Flores for an hour, and I'm not sure if I want to do that.
Please, come on. That's why he wasn't named captain?
No. Supposedly, he didn't throw his name into the fray.
Yeah, I've heard that too, but come on.
And
I don't really care that he was.
He's got other responsibilities. Like, he is a leader on offense, and he's got other responsibilities. I don't want more to be put on my plate if I'm Tua. And I've seen him be a leader. So I'm not going to sit here and say that. But it does bother me a little bit that when players mention the leaders on the team, he's always excluded. And I feel a little bit weird by it. Yeah. And I know he's a leader.
I don't care that he was or he wasn't named captain, but it should be his offense. He should be the guy they look to on that offense, okay?
Correct.
And you know my thing about leadership, it is overstated in the media, okay? Here's my definition of leadership, okay? And Jim Mandich, the great Jim Mandich, gave it to me. On his teams, in the huddle, everybody's huddle up, and the play call is to Larry Zonka. Okay? Everybody looks at Larry Zonka, and he's nodding. That's the right call. Give me the ball. I'll get you the first down. That is the guy who says, I'll make the plays for you. That's the leader. Don't give me any of this talk. He's talking in the locker room and all that
Who's
stuff.
Who's doing that in this team, Dave?
That's a good question.
Maybe Gesicki. Maybe. It's not.
Well, put it this way: who has the portfolio to do it? Who has the career backing? And that gets to me: who's your good players? Who's your best players? Xavier Howard could be a leader. I'm not sure it's in his personality, but he leads by saying, "I'll make the play. I'll make the play out there."
That's true. That's fair.
So
it's a good conversation for another day, and we'll have plenty more opportunities to discuss Dolphins leadership this season. The Atlanta Falcons are embarking on a rebuild of their own, Dave, but they're doing it with Matt Ryan as their starting quarterback, and Ryan has continued to deliver. He's produced a 97.1 passer rating this season, which is good, strangely, for 18th best in the league. On a side note, Dave, there are 19 quarterbacks who are delivering a 96 or better passer rating. 11 have a 100 or better passer rating, which is just a clear indication that this has just become a pass ridiculous league. It's sad, but I still believe running wins games. But despite the quarterback play, the Falcons only have 2 wins, Dave. And both of them have come against those little crappy New York teams that are out there. Will Miami be the 3rd victory that the Falcons put on their belt, Dave?
Do you feel confident? When the season came out, Jacksonville was a no-brain win and Atlanta was a sure win, right? Now they've lost to Jacksonville, and I don't look. Atlanta's won 2 of its last 3. Yes, they've been against the New York teams, but at least they've won.
First year of a coaching staff too in a rebuild.
At least they've won, yeah. And now you see. At least they're finding some. The interesting thing to me, and this has nothing to do with the matchups, is Atlanta played in London a week ago, the week before the Dolphins. They took the following week, last week, as the bye week. The Dolphins played in London last week and decided not to take their bye week this week. And David Flores of the Sun Sentinel wrote about this. And it's kind of interesting, different philosophies. I'm not saying one's right and one's wrong, because you can come up with whatever you want. But the Dolphins opted to take their bye week later in the season. And it's just, this is what a lot of teams will use as their basis for future decisions on who wins this game.
Yeah, I don't mind what they did in terms of the bye week, because I honestly don't think that this team is that injury depleted right now by guys. I know guys are out with injury, but I think they're going to need that rest later on in the season when people are still probably playing for jobs. I'm always running out of power.
Yeah, me too. This is a long one.
Yeah. Yeah. How tough will this home game be for the Dolphins, Dave?
Oh, are you kidding? They're 1-5 on a scale of 1 to 10. This will and can you imagine if they start slow, what the crowd will be like? You know, we've been here
God,
before.
this is a boo game.
We've been
here.
This is the boo game. Absolutely. This is the game where Pandora's box.
This is the game where fans turn on you. Yeah.
And so this could be it's going to be a tough game. I mean, they're all going to be tough for the Dolphins at this point, but it's a lot tougher than I thought it would have been a month ago.
Yeah. Alex wants to know, what will Miami take from these joint practice and apply it to this week's game, Dave? And let me start this off, because I watched the practices, and the Dolphins lost one. They got dominated at the line of scrimmage, and then they won one the next day. You know, and it was a 50-50 practice situation, which is what you definitely want to see. Dolphins obviously won the exhibition game, but I believe they were playing their real players, and the Falcons were playing nobody. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens during this game. But I would hey, it's going to come down to, can the offensive line protect Tua? And I say that every single week. Can the offensive line create running lanes? I need this offensive line to rush for 100 yards. I need them to pave the way for 100 yards, because that's the starting point to getting right, in my opinion. I know you want the quarterback to throw 47 times a game, which I just think is the just dumbest thing ever. But, you know, I understand this is a new NFL. But if I want to give myself a chance to win, I'm going to try to be balanced.
Well, the good news, if you're doing this, is Atlanta is 28th in sacks in the league. Okay, just like Jacksonville, they are down there. Okay, they don't have a pass rush, which suggests that Tua should have enough time. But yeah, 47 passes for a quarterback coming back from broken ribs. It was a little much, but it also tells you how desperate they are, because they do not trust their running game. So
Correct.
The surprising thing to me is they had joint practices with the team they're going to play in the first month and a half of the season. That I haven't done any look, but I typically thought teams that played each other stayed away from having joint practices. So
who cares?
Who cares?
Come down there.
Need to do a little.
And as Flores pointed out, they hid some of their good stuff, and so did the Falcons.
Okay, Willie Monster Squad, Omar. What's the single most important thing the Falcons have to do to beat the Dolphins? Turned it around here on.
Without a doubt, it's got to be running the ball. Obviously, Matt Ryan is going to be an efficient quarterback. He's a veteran quarterback. He's savvy. You're not going to really get pressure on him. He's going to get the ball out of his hands. Just think about him as Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's seasoned. He's mature. Mike Davis and Cordell Patterson, who the Dolphins do have history with, this coaching staff, because they coached him, not necessarily him particularly, but he's been a member of the Patriots. They know how he's a dangerous mismatch, and they know Mike Davis's history. He's having a pretty productive season this year. Let me get to what his average is. But you got to be able to stop the run. You got to make teams one-dimensional. And for the first time last week, the Dolphins held an opponent to less than 100 rushing yards, and that's just a starting point right there.
Yeah, I'd say the most important thing to do is score 24 points. That's it, because this offense hasn't shown that it's really capable of scoring. Here, 16-0, 28 in overtime, 17-17, 20. And now Tua's back, so we'll see. But I'm just saying, in general, this offense hasn't shown it can score a lot of points. Yeah. So.
For Joe Patterson, who is a hybrid player, he's not a receiver, he's not a running back, he's not a tight end. We got 25 receptions for 295 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then he's got 41 carries for 173 yards. So that's the ball 66 times in, 10 touches per game, which means he's a high volume player. He's more of a high volume player than Kyle Pitts, who I believe we're probably going to move on to our next question. And it's going to be regarding Kyle Pitts. Chase asked a good one. Jalen Waddle or Kyle Pitts so far during their career, Dave? Waddle.
Yeah, that's, so far, I mean, it's Kyle Pitts. But we've talked about.
It's not Kyle Pitts. Waddle's got more touchdowns. Waddle is.
Yeah. Look
Pitts
at
24 receptions for 308 yards and 1 touchdown. He's not exactly, a Cordell Patterson's more of a mismatch than Pitts is. Not that I'm saying that he will not be. He's a
I don't think
that the Dolphins don't have.
Well, you got to look at Pitts in the last 2 games. Okay, as they've started to go to him more, he has 19 catches in the last 2 games for so he is becoming a larger part of the offense, where to me Waddle's become a more mysterious part. He's not being used the way I thought he would be used, and so right now that's why I'd have to go. Pitts is coming on. Waddle's kind of I'm ready for him to come on. He has the talent. I just want to see him used that way.
Yeah. AB has our final question, Dave. How does Miami contain Kyle Pitts?
Well, the way they do with all – it used to – like a year ago, it was very simple. Put Kyle Rowe on him. And Kyle Rowe, you talk about those joint practices, he was very good against Kyle Pitts, okay? So there's your starting point, I guess, if he's starting. Where are we at with Kyle this year? So
you got Brandon Jones, Byron Jones handled Waller with the Raiders, and Eric Rowe handled every other tight end. And then you've got Brandon Jones, who's eating into Eric Rowe's playing time. He's more of an impactful player in the box. He's more of a true strong safety. So Eric Rowe has really become a part-time cast member. And they're full-fledged on Javon Holland, who's, playing that free safety role. And the hope is that he becomes a more impactful guy, more of a ball hawk. But right now they're in an evolution at the safety position. And what I'm learning is that it is impacting the cornerback play, because there is trust issues involved right now in terms of players not being where they're supposed to be and helping out where they're supposed to help out. So it'll be interesting to see how they defend a team with 2 mismatches like the Atlanta Falcons. Time for predictions, Dave. I know we talked about overtime, but this show is running long.
We're into overtime. We're into overtime.
What'd you say?
Who do you got, Omar?
Okay, Dave?
You go first, Omar.
I have learned my lesson about picking the Miami Dolphins. So I am going to go the other way, and I'm going to think that the bleeding continues. This team might be ready to bleed out. I'm going with the Falcons 24-21. I know, I'm a pessimist by nature. You know me, Dave. Glass is half empty. And while I do believe in Tua, I don't know what weaponry he's going to have right now. Maybe my opinion changes by the end of the week, but right now I'm going with the Falcons.
I'm going for the last stand, Omar. I'm going for this is like
this
the
is
Alamo.
It for you.
This is out in the Alamo. I'm Davy Crockett standing in the Alamo, and here they come. And I'm going to say the Dolphins, out of complete desperation now, back at home, are going to pull this one out 20-17.
Yeah, if there was any time for a desperate situation and a desperate game, it would be this one, Dave. Definitely. Well, thank you for watching X's and Omar. I know we promised you X and Omar overtime, but this show has been long. And Dave's got to move on with his life, as do I. You can find X's and Omar on the Sun Sentinel website. You can find it anywhere you find podcasts, Spotify, Apple, you name it. And we're also on YouTube for all the European fans out there who do not get to go to the Sun Sentinel page. And hopefully one day the Sun Sentinel will fix that, so we can stop hearing complaints.
I wrote our editor about it, so we're once again, hopefully something will be done about it. I was over there. Yeah. That was embarrassing to see that coming up every time I'm over there.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. We will see you next Wednesday at noon and discuss the latest in Dolphins land.